What if the concept of pure evil is too simplistic to capture the true nature of villainy? Gone are the days when villains were merely obstacles to be overcome, often depicted as embodiments of pure evil without depth or motivation. Today, video game developers are crafting antagonists with complex, often tragic backstories that explain their motivations. This evolution in character design reflects a broader recognition within the gaming community that people, whether real or fictional, are multifaceted and shaped by their experiences. As gamers have matured, some of us, so too has their understanding of narrative complexity. By giving villains richer backstories, developers are not only deepening the game's narrative, but also engaging players who seek to understand the motivations behind a character's actions. This shift towards more nuanced storytelling caters to those who appreciate depth in their gaming experience, encouraging players to think critically about what drives someone to villainy. This nuanced perspective on villainy ties into the larger philosophical debate about the nature of evil. The notion of pure evil is compelling and contentious. Some argue vehemently that pure evil does exist, often citing serial killers, sex offenders, and even fictional characters as definitive examples. This highlights humanity's long-standing fascination with understanding why people commit harmful acts. Are these actions the result of inherent malevolence, or are they shaped by specific circumstances? Broadly, opinions on this issue fall within two main camps. Many religious traditions, particularly in Christianity, attribute the propensity for evil to original sin, a condition believed to stem from Adam and Eve's disobedience in the Garden of Eden, as described in the book of Genesis. This perspective suggests that humans are inherently flawed or sinful from birth, and that these innate tendencies can lead to evil actions unless controlled or redeemed through spiritual means. In contrast, the scientific approach often looks at physiological, psychological, and environmental factors. Disorders like narcissistic personality disorder or psychopathy are studied within the context of brain chemistry, genetics, and social influences. These conditions are characterized by abnormalities in emotional processing, empathy, and decision-making, which can manifest in harmful behavior. Scientists and psychologists attempt to understand these phenomena through research and empirical observation, focusing on how certain brain functions correlate with specific behavior. Personally, I hold the view that villainous behaviors and harmful acts stem from the experiences individuals endure rather than inherent evil. This stance contrasts with traditional religious interpretations, which might attribute such behavior to original sin or inherent moral corruption. On the scientific front, explanations often focus on abnormalities in brain chemistry or structure. However, there are notable issues with both of these perspectives. From the religious perspective, this viewpoint can oversimplify the complexity of human behavior by attributing it solely to moral failings or sinful nature. It may neglect the impact of environmental factors, personal experiences, and societal influences, which can be crucial in shaping behavior. From the psychological perspective, while it provides valuable insights through the study of biology and psychology, it can sometimes lead to deterministic views where individuals are seen as prisoners of their biological makeup. This perspective might underestimate the role of personal choice and the potential for change and rehabilitation. My thoughts on the complexity of villainy are significantly influenced by the many video games I've played. These games often feature characters with detailed backstories that reveal the motives behind their actions, suggesting that understanding their histories is key to understanding their choices. This experience has shaped my belief that people are products of their circumstances, not just their nature or biology. In the following sections, I'll delve deeper into specific examples from games that illustrate how backstories and character development challenge the notion of inherent evil. The game series that most challenged my idea of pure evil was the Mass Effect series, which to me is a perfectly crafted universe that I found myself returning to time and time again. Saren, the main antagonist in the first Mass Effect game, provides a rich case study for examining how personal experiences and trauma can shape a character's decisions and lead to actions perceived as evil. Saren Arturius is a Turian Spectre, an elite agent working for the Citadel Council tasked with maintaining peace and stability in the galaxy. Initially, Saren is portrayed as a ruthless and driven character, willing to achieve his goals by any means necessary. His descent into villainy is not rooted in inherent evil, but is driven by a complex mix of personal loss, fear, and a misguided sense of duty. Saren's actions are heavily influenced by his experiences during the First Contact War between the Turians and humans, where he developed a deep-seated mistrust of humanity. His brother was killed during these conflicts, adding a personal vendetta to his broader ideological stance. Saren's fear of the potential threat posed by humanity leads him to ally with the Reaper Sovereign, believing that by aiding this ancient machine intelligence, he can prevent the annihilation of organic life by proving the usefulness of organic species as servants rather than adversaries. Saren's story challenges a simplistic notion of pure evil. His decisions are shaped by trauma, loss, and a desperate desire to save the galaxy as he understands it. His tragic flaw lies in his methods and the decision to use catastrophic means to achieve what he believes to be a noble end. His assistance with Sovereign and subsequent actions can be seen as a twisted form of utilitarianism, where he aims to save the greatest number of lives at the cost of his morality and ultimately his humanity. By examining Saren's backstory and motivations, players are invited to consider the impact of personal history and trauma on decision-making. This example illustrates how video games like Mass Effect offer narratives that encourage players to think deeply about what drives individuals towards actions that are harmful or villainous. Saren is not merely a villain, he's a character shaped by his circumstances, illustrating the nuanced approach to storytelling that challenges players to think beyond black and white notions of good and evil. I'll admit that when I first played Mass Effect, I had no idea about the First Contact War. It was backstory hidden in the lore of the excellently crafted voiceovers in the codex. Up until I understood Saren and what he had experienced, I simply saw him as an evil character siding with the Reapers on a quest and pursuit for some sort of ultimate power. What if we imagine ourselves in Saren's position? Imagine if your home had been invaded by what you perceive as the newest, most inexperienced species in the galaxies, essentially babies. These newcomers not only challenge your way of life, but also pose a direct threat to your people, as evidenced by the tragic loss of your loved ones during these conflicts. How would you react? What measures might you consider justified to protect your home and prevent future tragedies? There are those who would still say, I wouldn't do that, which brings me to my main point regarding the concept of pure evil. Many people cling to the idea of pure evil as a way to distance themselves from the capacity for wrongdoing. They resist acknowledging that they too could commit terrible, horrible, and vile acts. By defining pure evil as something other, it allows them to view themselves as inherently good people, defining good simply as the absence of evil, rather than a proactive effort to become the best version of themselves. This perspective often leads to discomfort when these individuals are confronted with the empathic understanding of a villain's backstory, such as the suffering Thanos endured as a child. Additional examples include Joker's descent into madness following a series of tragic personal losses, and Darth Vader's turn to the dark side in a misguided attempt to save his loved ones. Recognizing these characters' painful histories complicates the black and white hatred some might feel towards them. Understanding their motivations doesn't justify their actions, but it does provide important context. This notion helped me make significant progress in dealing with my own obsessive thoughts, realizing that having thoughts about committing harmful acts like punching a child in a stroller, poisoning a meal, or driving into a crowded street doesn't make me an evil person. It's our actions, not our thoughts, that define who we are. So how can this nuanced perspective on villainy enhance your gaming experience? Beyond allowing you to engage with richer and more complex narratives, it also shines a light on your own actions as the protagonist and hero. If there's no such thing as pure evil, then the concept of pure good also becomes questionable. While it's possible to define what might be considered evil and acknowledge that some acts are particularly heinous, often labeled as purely evil to simplify understanding, recognizing the nuances in these actions provides a deeper, more engaging gameplay experience. This approach challenges you to examine your decisions and their ramifications within the game world more critically. It encourages you to think about the motivations behind your actions and those of others. Are you acting out of a desire for justice, revenge, or something more self-serving? As you navigate these morally complex landscapes, you become more than just a player. You become a participant in a dynamic narrative where the lines between hero and villain can blur, leading to a more immersive and thought-provoking experience. This perspective not only enriches your interaction with the game, but also mirrors the complexity of real-world ethics and morality, making the gaming experience infinitely more profound and satisfying. As you delve into your next gaming adventure, I encourage you to embrace this complexity. Reflect on the motivations and backstories of not just the villains, but also the heroes. Question the simplicity of labeling characters as purely evil or wholly good. By doing so, you'll not only enrich your understanding of the narrative, but also enhance your overall gaming experience. Engage with the story at a deeper level, and you'll find that the worlds you explore and the characters you encounter become more vivid and compelling. So pick up the controller with a curious mind, and let the shades of gray in character development lead you to more nuanced and rewarding adventures. Have thoughts or experiences to share? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your perspective.